on the Ukraine-Russia issue. Can you clarify whether there's been any other multilateral initiatives? Keyword, things like observers. You are going there, my understanding is more in a mediation role to mediate between Ukraine and Russia to de-escalate the situation on the ground there. However, are there any potential for other multilateral initiatives that could, say, implement observers around critical infrastructure?
Thank you, Jonathan. Not that I know. What we do, and I think the chances of success, frankly, of what we are trying to attempt are predicated on the technical mandate of the IAEA. I think our counterparts, Russians and Ukrainians, are ready to entertain this because of the unique nature of our mandate. We have a mandate which is specific, and it has to do with the safety and the security of all of these facilities. What we will be trying to do is to agree on a framework based around the 7 pillars that I outlined at the extraordinary session of the board last Friday: physical integrity, external power. In fact, these 7 pillars are nothing but the distillation of what we have in the safety standards and I would say the broad consensus in the safety community all over the world. Nobody would challenge that. So what we are trying to do is to have a clear understanding that these things are necessary and there are certain things which are not permissible, and if possible we want to have some concrete measures in order to facilitate the transportation, access for equipment, parts that may be necessary. So, bear with me if I just give you the general outline. It's something now that I need to sit down with our Russian colleagues. With Ukraine, this is in Ukraine, so the Ukrainians have to decide and tell me what they want in terms of these practical aspects. So this is I would say the idea. More than idea, we have some elements that we are exchanging already with them, and we will try to build on those. We don't have much time, so I hope to be able to move as fast as possible before another episode takes place.
You didn't answer the HEU molybdenum question.
What specifically? Yes, you affirmed that.
I want your assessment of Iran's declaration that it's using its HEU to produce moly targets.
I don't have a comment on that. They can do that. What we are trying to ascertain is that what they declare is in conformity with what happens.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a problem with that, or is it?
Well, I mean, you've been telling us for months that there's no distinction between what they've been producing and weapons material. So now they're using it for a very commonplace medical isotope production.
I understand your point. It goes into the judgment of intentions. And so for us, it would be a bit difficult to say these intentions are justified or not. What we need to be is very alert, and we are going to be verifying that. Thank you very much.
Merci, Monsieur Grossi. Ma question en français, s'il vous plaît.
Je suis là. Où vous êtes? Ah, merci.
Je suis là. Vous avez mis un plan avec les Iraniens ce week-end qui commence le 20 mars et jusqu'au 22 juin. C'est un échange d'informations entre les deux parties. Est-ce que ce plan est une condition préalable pour arriver à la fin, donc pour obtenir à la fin un accord avec le Vienna Talks, ou bien on peut arriver à un accord durant les négociations de Vienne entre les parties concernées et travailler d'une façon simultanée avec le plan entre l'agence et les Iraniens. Une petite deuxième question, est-ce que vous pouvez nous assurer aujourd'hui qu'il n'y a pas de risque concernant les centres nucléaires de Zaporizhzhia? Merci.
Bon, la première partie se réfère à ce qu'on a accordé en Téhéran ces week-ends et la relation avec la négociation et l'accord possible autour du JCPOA. Moi, je dirais il n'y a pas de lien direct Nous savons que l'Iran doit répondre à des questions qu'on pose depuis maintenant, depuis longtemps. Depuis longtemps. Donc, les problèmes avec ça, c'est qu'on n'arrivait pas à s'entendre à propos de la manière, de quelle manière, dans quelle séquence, quel délai serait-il nécessaire pour avancer dans cette processus de clarification. Donc, comme vous dites bien, on a dit, voilà, on va faire ça, on va commencer, vous allez répondre avec des délais qui vont plus ou moins jusqu'au mois de juin. Mais comme vous le savez, il n'y a pas de date fixe ni d'obligation pour moi de le faire. Moi, j'ai dit dans cet accord, et on s'est mis d'accord avec nos collègues iraniens pour dire, on essaye, on travaille dans l'esprit, avec l'intention, with a name, comme on dit en anglais, d'arriver à la fin de ces processus au mois de juin. Moi, je dirais que pour ce qui concerne la possibilité que notre processus, si je vous ai bien compris, que notre processus échoue à cause d'un manque d'accord JCPOA, ça c'est vraiment un peu de la politique fiction. Moi je ne pourrais pas vous dire. Moi, ce que je vous dirais, c'est on va travailler, on va commencer et on verra au fur et à mesure qu'on avance. Ça va? Ah oui, excusez-moi. Pour la centrale, bon, comme vous savez, l'épisode de vendredi dernier, c'était un épisode grave, gravissime même. Et on a pu le contrôler. La situation sur place, elle reste très tendue. Très tendue. Et il y a eu, moi je dirais même une dégradation, en ce sens que maintenant, on a été informé du fait que les opérateurs techniques doivent faire accepter certaines activités, fonctions et décisions qu'ils prennent par les autorités militaires en place, ce qui va à l'encontre de toute mesure de sécurité et de sûreté nucléaire existante. Un opérateur doit être laissé en paix, travailler et faire son travail technique. Il ne devrait pas aller chercher le permis d'un militaire pour faire ce qu'il doit faire. Donc moi je suis personnellement préoccupé, je l'ai dit au Conseil tout à l'heure, je l'ai mis dans mon rapport d'hier soir. Donc j'espère qu'on pourra corriger ça. On est en train de mener des consultations discrètes afin de résoudre cette situation.
Une petite clarification concernant la première question. Donc, l'acheminement d'échange d'informations entre vous et les Iraniens, est-ce qu'il pourrait aider à améliorer les chances d'arriver à un accord dans les Vienna Talks?
Moi, je crois que, pourquoi pas? Moi, je crois que quand on voit de part et d'autre qu'il y a une atmosphère qui s'améliore, qu'il y a une atmosphère de travail qui va mieux, qu'on se parle mieux, qu'on peut avoir accès à des informations qu'on n'avait pas avant, finalement, il s'agit du même pays, n'est-ce pas? Donc, je crois dans les effets positifs, dans les externalités, si vous voulez, d'un bon travail avec l'Iran à ce moment. Voilà.
Hi, DG. François Murphy from Reuters. Over here.
Always.
Just try and get a clearer sense of what you're up to in Ukraine. You sort of have two things going on at the same time. On the one hand, you're trying to bring both sides together and agree some kind of commitment to, protect the security and safety of nuclear installations. On the other, something you've talked a bit less about recently, you have this plan for assistance to Ukraine that you mentioned before.
Yeah.
And you've said, you can't go into too many specifics for now. But one thing I was curious about is that you, at one of your many previous press conferences in the past week, you didn't rule out actually sending people to Ukraine. I'm just wondering if you can give us some sense of sort of the scale of that, sort of what kind of, just what rough order of resources are we talking about here? And yeah.
Yes, we would need to, thank you for the question. We would need to, first of all, as I said on Friday, we have, first of all, to have a framework. So what are the basic principles? Because, and the principles are not, I would say, are good to have. They are necessary because these principles, or basic points, if you want, indicate to you which are the areas where we are going to be concentrating. external power, communications, and they may have and will have a strong influence into what is, in concrete terms, what might be needed. We know, for example, that there are some pieces of equipment that the plants need or will be needing as part of the normal operation, not necessarily because of an attack or a malfunction now. In the normal course of events, had there not been a war, you would have that. And in the moment, that now you have that supply chain is interrupted. So we are already in contact with several countries, with Energoatom in this case, because it's more the side of the operator than the regulator, and we know more or less what they are needing. So we also need to establish some understanding on how to do that. Shall we need to have observers or technical support personnel from the agency to be there? Maybe, but that is something that we would not be able to define now at this point. The same could apply to safeguards, mind you. So at the moment we are okay. We have remote monitoring. We have remote monitoring for the material there, but there may come a point where we might need to perform a function or not. So there are a number of things, and the physical presence is not excluded. But we need first to have a more or less, user's guide to see.
Hello, DG. Albert Otti, DPA, German Press Agency. About the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, you described some of the problems that are there with communications. So would you say that this power plant is still a safe power plant, safely operating power plant, or not anymore? Or how fast is the time approaching, in your view, that it's no longer safe? And the second question is about your planned talks with Ukraine and Russia on a safety framework, safety security framework. Are you still talking, is the talk now about the logistics, or are you also still trying to figure out, is there still discussion on the content of the talk?
Yeah, thank you. On the first part, I would say, I will not say it's not being operated unsafely. We are getting the reports and the assessments from the Ukrainian regulator, and for the time being, this is the situation. That being said, the conditions are absolutely extraordinary, as I have been saying as well. This normal operation is a technical term, but there is nothing normal about what is going on. So there is safe operation, but there are many, many questions on the ability to sustain this for much longer if we don't support this in some way. And this is a good segue for the second part of your second question, because we are discussing both things. In a situation like this, modalities are also substance, and substance has to do a lot with modalities. So the two things are really very, very intertwined.
Hi, DC, welcome back.
Hello, thank you very much. That's very kind.
But my question goes to Ukraine. Setsuko Inaki from Nippon TV. The Élysée Palace, France announced that you had met President Macron before you went to Tehran, and French suggested that they would suggest IAEA some measures to assist you in a negotiation to establish this framework. And actually, that they announced it, that this suggestion would come within hours. Mm-hmm. So my question number one is, have you received such suggestions? And then the question number two is your current sort of negotiation that I suppose that you're talking to separately on both sides, so that is there element in this discussion that is such concrete suggestions coming from some of the major the nuclear states?
Yes. Thank you very much. That's very clear. This initiative is the IAEA's initiative. I must underscore. It's an IAEA initiative, And the main elements being discussed there are the elements that we, as an international independent organization, believe are those that are necessary. That being said, President Macron, and this is no secret, and it has been announced publicly also by the French government, so I don't have a problem in commenting on that, has been extremely generous in manifesting his support to this idea. And not only that, as you know, he has been in conversation with President Zelensky and with President Putin, and the IAEA initiative for the preservation of the safety and security of the nuclear facilities has been, if not at the center, one of the main points that they were discussing. The French government has been generous enough to share with me their assessment and ideas. Of course, we are in contact and we receive suggestions, as you are mentioning.
DG, thank you very much. BBC Persian television. Two things. One on Ukraine. If I'm not mistaken, you spoke about several episodes, as you put it, that are concerning you. I just wondered whether you can give us a list of those very concerns and how concerned you are on each of these. On the Iranian front, I suppose if there is an agreement to return to the JCPOA, the first thing for that to be implemented would be for you to approve or to oversee what's going on the ground in Iran, to be satisfied that everything is fine and peaceful. And if that's the case, do I take it that you would press for the implementation of the additional protocol as one of the very first steps of this possible agreement? Thank you.
Well, the first thing, you are asking for a list that I already gave you, because if you look at the 13 updates that we are producing every day, and this is a lot of work behind them, because we are checking every information. There's a lot of fake and false information out there. So in order to give you and the international community good information, we have them there. You know, there have been issues in Kharkiv, there is an issue in Mariupol. There are many places where there is no accident, there is no release of radiation, there is nothing of the sort, but many problems that appear here and there. This is why I believe that all of these are indications, more than indications, confirmations that we cannot go on like this. There has to be clear understandings or clear commitments not to go anywhere near a nuclear facility when it comes to military operations. And the second part regarding the JCPOA, well, yes, the AP is part of the JCPOA. It would be very difficult to have an agreement of the width and the depth of the JCPOA only with a comprehensive safeguards agreement of the traditional sort. You have to have the ability to ask for accesses and to work in a more efficient way. So to the best of my knowledge, the application of the additional protocol was and is and will be part of the JCPOA reloaded if it comes to life.
Thanks a lot, TG. Good to see you
Yes,
again.
hello.
I want to pick up a couple of things that you said in your statement today. One on Ukraine and one on Iran. You talked about. You said I reiterate my call. Let it be heard loud and clear. We must avert a nuclear accident. Let us not hide behind all or nothing at all solutions. And I wondered why you said this. And I guess under that question is, whether Russia is setting conditions for you to go to Ukraine, and if so, what those conditions are, because clearly if they weren't and they were saying yes, you would probably be there. And my second question is, you talked again about the agreement on Iran of last February and talked about the difficulty of maintaining continuity of knowledge over such a large period of time. Now, we know about Karaj and we know about the absence of cameras there. Is there any other reason why it's difficult to maintain continuity of knowledge? Do you have any other concerns that you may not get everything that you need from Iran? And just finally, very, very briefly, I guess we're coming up to another of the 3-month periods where you need to get in there and update the cameras. I think the last was towards the end of December. Have the Iranians given you any assurance that you will get access to all the facilities? Thanks.
Thank you very much. On the first thing, no one is putting any conditions on us. We are in the beginning of what I expect will be a very short consultation for the reasons I was mentioning, but no one is putting any questions. What I have in mind when I said that we should avoid all or nothing at all kind of approaches is that, of course, it is very, and perhaps logically, understandably, conceivable that the sides will want to season this agreement with other elements, with elements that have to do with their basic positions on things that are perhaps not necessarily related to nuclear safety. And without that, they would not agree, or they would perhaps agree if we add this or that. And what I'm reminding everybody is I said it to the Security Council on Friday. I said it here. I'm not the Secretary General of the United Nations. I'm not the Security Council. I'm not a self-appointed mediator or negotiator. I'm looking for after nuclear safety and security in Ukraine. So I'm trying to, and it's not easy, and I have a understanding for the positions in Ukraine, for example, that has military, foreign military forces in their territory. So there is, of course, a drive to try to have elements which are not specifically related to nuclear safety, and this is my big effort. On the other part, the gap is a gap that is chronological, which is very important, and is also substantive, because what has been happening over the past few months is that you had not only quantitative increases, you had qualitative progress in many areas, having to do with research and development, having to do with areas that the JCPOA explicitly forbade or forbids if it comes back. So our inspectors will have to really go through a very thorough process of consultation and checking with our Iranian counterparts in order to give a sound basis. It's going to be a lot of work, very hard work. Yeah. Sorry?
Sorry, DJ, the third question.
Yeah, we are coming to that. I don't expect any problems with that. And may I remind you that Karaj was the issue, and now these cameras have been, or we have installed new sets of cameras in Isfahan, where the new facility for the production of parts for centrifuges is operative. So I don't foresee any problems there.
Just a brief follow-up. You mentioned the Kharkov Physics Institute. Can you clarify whether you verified that the neutron generator that's under safeguards is safe and secure?
Well, apparently it's destroyed.
So the neutron generator is destroyed.
There's no radiation release. We haven't been there, of course. There's no radiation release. The whole place has been impact. What we can say is that there is no, this this place has a very small inventory of material, very small. It is a subcritical facility. It's basically a place that produces neutrons for scientific experiments. It's a relatively new one. It was actually part of a cooperation between the United States and Ukraine, as you know, at Obama administration. So it's a scientific institution. So it's really very regrettable what happened.
But just to be clear, that site was under safeguards, correct, or not?
Well, there is, yes, when there is nuclear material.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.